This episode is brought to you by Leah Hart, your trusted partner in Boston suburb real estate. Hello and welcome to the finale episode of this season. We wrap up with the incredible story of Amy Shroff and her nonprofit Let's Save the Strays.org, which we pledge to support this season. Amy Shroff, a dedicated veterinarian who has been a resident of Wayland, Massachusetts since 1999. Amy's journey in veterinary medicine is truly inspiring. She founded the Veterinary Emergency and Specialty Center of New England, now known as Blue Pearl Veterinary Specialists, and remains the only sole female owner of a practice of this size in Massachusetts. Amy's focus on emergency medicine has significantly influenced her international work. Her nonprofit aims to assist animals worldwide that have been forgotten and have no voice. Through Let's Save the Strays.org, Amy is starting a movement to care for strays more humanely and address the human-animal conflict in countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Nepal, India, and more. Her organization has also extended its efforts to Ukraine. With a wealth of resources in our country, Amy strives to bridge the gap between those who need help and those who can provide it. Many people want to contribute but don't know how. Amy's 501c organization is volunteer-based, self-funded, ensuring that 95% of every dollar goes directly to the animals they care for. Her efforts have been recognized with a large grant from Animals Australia for 3 consecutive years, enhancing the impact of her work. I am excited to dive deeper into Amy's incredible work and hear more about her mission to give a voice to the voiceless animals of the world. Welcome to the podcast, Amy Shroff.
Thanks for having me.
I had you in the season 1 list. I wanted to have you over because I knew you were posting about your work and it blew my mind. And I'm like, Amy Shroff. Well, that rings a bell. Like Shroff seems to be an Indian surname.
It is. It's a Parsi name. My dad is from Mumbai. My mom is from the United States.
Nice.
And so India is my second home.
But it definitely brings a different flavor to
It
a
does.
person.
It does.
Don't you
yes.
think?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I have married a Nepalese American. So being an Indian and my husband from Nepal and then my kid is American. So it feels like we live in this really global world.
It's true. I mean, exactly. There are a lot of interesting international groups that are here in Wayland, especially India. And I love Nepal. I've been to Nepal, and there's just beautiful people there. And the food is amazing.
They're wonderful people. They're very sweet people.
They are.
And I am basing all of that on how my husband is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
What got you here?
So we were my then fiance, now husband. We've been married over 20 years. We're living in Hingham in a tiny cottage, and I, being a veterinarian, of course, we had dogs between us. We had a St. Bernard, a Golden Shepherd Cross, and 2 Scotties. So we're living in this small space, and we wanted to buy a home. And the Metro West area has always been a super favorite. So we looked in Concord, Lincoln, Wayland, Sudbury, and we wanted land. And this house came up, and we originally tried to put an offer on it, but we couldn't. But then the house came on the market again, and my husband rushed from Hingham to run and put an offer on it. And it's just been a lovely home. We've been there forever, and it abuts a ton of conservation land. It's just beautiful, and we have a lot of native gardens, so we have a lot of wildlife.
I have seen your house, and I have to tell you, and tell the audience, of course, that I went to pick up some stuff, handicraft items for like Diwali lamps that you had, and I enter this driveway. And I see character in everything that's placed inside the window and outside your house. And I was blown away by how amazingly global it felt to me.
Yes, it's a mix of everything.
Yeah. I am super excited to go right into the story, but we will be talking about so many different things today, and I have my mind going on the latest auction that you had.
Yes, Pizza for Pups. It was the event was in Northborough at 2 of our board members, their home in Northborough. They had this beautiful home with this huge barn with a pizza oven. So we hired 2 guys to make awesome brick oven pizza, and we had a 110 people show, and we made almost $30,000 that night.
Oh my
which was
God.
a huge success. And so now we want to do this on a yearly basis to try to cultivate a following, because people were so impressed and excited about the event and all the auction items and the raffle and the wine and the pizza and the conversation and being able to tell the story about Let's Save the Strays, and why it's important.
So when you moved into Wayland, now I'm taking you further back into the story. I want you to tell us all, when did this love for animals came into?
Yeah, always wanted to be a veterinarian and went to University of Pennsylvania, and then after that came to Massachusetts and just stayed and have worked in private practice, but then opened the Veterinary Emergency and Specialty Center of New England, which is in in Waltham. And then in 2001, and then in 2013, I sold it to Blue Pearl Veterinary Specialists, those of you who know about Blue Pearl. And then that's when I started.
But was the love
working
for
on-
animals
sorry.
started young?
Yes, very young. I mean, I think that both my parents were super animal lovers. My family on both sides are super animal lovers. And even though I didn't have a ton of animals growing up, I loved them. And I wanted to help them. They're innocent. They're beautiful. They have such pure souls, all of them. Exactly.
That's something that I've observed too. My best friend is that person.
Yeah.
She's a huge, and she knows that I'm recording you today, and so she was like, "I love this,"
That's awesome.
So
awesome.
I'm intrigued. So I want you to take us to that journey of being a biracial kid. You told us just now that daddy was a Parsi, mom was an American.
Yep.
How was childhood? How was growing up?
So, I was born and raised in Riverdale, New York. It's in the Bronx. It's an affluent suburb not a suburb, but an enclave. And so, a lot of my friends are Jewish or Asian. And so here's my mom from the Midwest and here's my dad from India. And so we're just kind of an interesting mix. And then my mom wanted to buy a house, right? And wanted to take her kids to the suburbs. So we went to Riverside, Connecticut and my parents bought a little house and we moved there. And it was a lot of fun. I want to go to church. So then we started going to church. Even though my dad is Zoroastrian, they were very active in the church.
Yeah.
And I think I just wanted to belong to a community.
Right.
And, Greenwich, Riverside, Old Greenwich, these are also super affluent communities, very similar to Wayland. And so there were a lot of high-achieving individuals. The school system, there were a lot of super high-achieving people. And I think that was an interesting role model for me. And I don't think I really understood about diversity. I think I was just doing my thing. I had
growing up, did you feel that you were different?
Yes. I mean,
How was food at home?
Yeah, so my mom made Indian food amazingly. So that's the thing, is we had a whole group of Indian friends and we had a whole group of non-Indian friends. And people, I think, were really intrigued with the fact that I was half Indian. So if we went to India, like, people don't necessarily go to India per se. Or if I wore Indian things or Indian jewelry. But I didn't really become super attached to my Indian side until I became more of a teenager. So
You have one of the most fabulous collections of handicrafts and things. By the way, I'm just
I
letting
love
you-
all Indian textiles.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
but it's a shopping mecca. For those of you that want to go, it's a shopping mecca. Or you can come to my house and buy stuff. Yeah, so that I sell all these things on Facebook Marketplace. I sell them all to fund the nonprofit.
Yeah,
and
I've
also because
seen
I'm a
that.
shopper.
oh my God. And you have an eye for shopping. I want to tell people who are listening, if you're local and you want to buy some really beautiful pieces, you have to look at what Amy is doing or selling on the
Yeah.
marketplace. But yes, I personally have been benefited by her shopping habit. Amy, was it difficult being this person who had so much compassion and also had to earn the livelihood? And because I see you bringing this work and service to different countries, how did you make it possible?
So after I sold the practice, and the main reason why I sold the practice was because I thought it's time for me to do something different. It's time for me to give back. it's time for me to try and give or teach proper humane care of animals in places other than the United States.
Right.
And so I started by volunteering at Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And I found that after my dad passed away, we went to Thailand. My dad passed away in India actually when he was visiting, and then we went for the anniversary of his death, and then I had sold the practice, and so we decided to go to Thailand. And I went to Elephant Nature Park, which is such an inspirational place. If anyone wants to go, it's a fabulous place to visit. And so I started volunteering there. But also, I digress, that I learned a lot about TNVR, which is Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release, in Mumbai.
What is that?
So Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release is the core mission of Let's Save the Strays International. And it is also what has saved, millions of street dogs all over the world, especially in Mumbai. I mean, Mumbai is an amazing model for this concept. So, for example, in Myanmar, there are 1 to 2 dogs for every 55 million people in Myanmar. And there isn't any resource to spay, neuter, to vaccinate. So you have all of these animals running around, reproducing multiple times a year. Rabies is rampant. Infectious disease is rampant. And so Mumbai, originally, they thought, well, we're going to round all these animals up and gas them. We're going to poison them.
Wow, my goodness.
And the truth is, in Mumbai anyway, in India, we do have a lot of people living on the street. We have people living in hutments. We have people living not always in homes. And these people, in addition to everyone, they own dogs.
Right.
When you're in the market and you see a family on a bullock cart, and then you see their chunky, Doberman mix or some crazy thing, and it has a big collar on it, it's not sitting there next to them by coincidence. It's their dog. So a lot of street people were hiding their animals because they said, I don't want these government veterinarians to come and round them up and kill them. And also the World Health Organization says that, killing does not work because unless you kill every animal on the planet at once, they're going to reproduce over and over and over. But by neutering them, by sterilizing them, vaccinating them, deworming them, over time you have fewer and fewer and fewer dogs. So Mumbai, there were a lot of NGOs, nonprofit, non-government organizations, including Welfare for Stray Dogs, which is WSD, a great organization, privately funded. And the concept is very basic, where basically these dogs would live in different groups. So dogs would live by the airport. Dogs would live down by, different parts of Colaba and all these different parts of the city. So they would basically, over time, it's been around for years and years, but it's over time, they have rounded up dogs and they would bring them to this very basic clinic in a very poor part of Mumbai. Veterinarians would volunteer. It would be sterile surgery. They would neuter them, vaccinate them, deworm them, recover them, and return them back to where they lived. And now, honestly, it's how many years has it been? 20 years, 15 years? Now when you go anywhere to the market, you go to Colaba, you go on the Queen's Necklace, Marine Drive, for those of you that have been, there's hardly any street dogs anymore. And all of the ones that you see, their ears are notched. And that's to show that they have been neutered.
Oh, nice.
And it's just an amazing concept. It's been done in Nepal. It's been done all over the world. It's been done in Goa and different parts of the world. And so I wanted to take this to other countries where there is no resource. Because honestly, for anywhere from $20 to $50, you can neuter, deworm, and vaccinate an animal. And one dog can give rise to over 55,000 dogs in her lifetime if all of her progeny reproduce.
Wow.
So this is a replicable One Health mission. It helps wildlife. It helps people. We stop rabies. But we also, the beauty of Let's Save the Strays, which I know I'm rambling a little bit, is we employ local veterinarians, local street feeders. So it's also
you teach them also.
Yes, we teach them how to do. We teach them how to do international standards of sterile surgery, proper drug use, sterile surgery, sterile packs, sterile gloves, sterile suture. So, this isn't a short-term. People want a quick fix. It's not a short-term plan.
It's like a process, and you have to be really into the process.
And you have to be
those
diligent.
Volunteers
Yes, exactly. But, people want this. It's just that there's no resource. Myanmar is one of the poorest countries in Asia, and there is no resource. So they basically force feed these street dogs strychnine en masse. I mean, there's truckloads of these dogs.
I know.
So, there is, and look, if it worked, okay, but it doesn't work. And so this is a different way, a better, more sustainable, effective way.
Yeah, international aspect of this nonprofit makes me think, and you're already in 4 countries. How are you doing this?
So the concept of Let's Save the Strays International is I want to go where other people don't go. I want to give the animals a voice that don't have a voice. The animals, we've talked about this, that the world has forgotten or the world doesn't know about.
Or doesn't care also.
Well, okay, but I want to preface that because, as evidenced of, raising over $30,000 on Saturday at the auction, I think people do care. I think people just don't know.
How to,
Yes, and I think even people in the Philippines, in Nepal is another place where we work with another organization in Nepal. We've done some TNVR projects. So Myanmar, Thailand, Nepal, Russia, pre-Ukraine. We've also done work in Ukraine. But people do care. I think that people there are always going to be people that don't care. For example, if you go, again, I'm talking mainly about Mumbai, but, there's Julie by the theater. There's so-and-so who lives by the gas station. Restaurants feed them, gas stations, street people. And so in Myanmar, there's lots of street feeders. As a matter of fact, if you, I'm going to post on Facebook more photos because we just finished a project. We do we neuter 200 dogs a month, sterilize 200 dogs a month in Mandalay. And every time it's street feeders who come. I mean, we've really started a movement now. Monasteries are asking, hospitals, fire stations, schools, everyone's like, come and do this because they're recognizing that it's a sustainable option. That, they don't want to, people don't want to bring harm to animals. Listen, dogs can be a nuisance. Here in Wayland, we don't have a pack of stray dogs as you're walking down the bike path. But imagine if you're a Burmese and you have your baby and you're walking down the street and the dogs are not going to hurt you because they're more scared of you than you are of them. But they're barking. They tend to be kind of barky and you're nervous and you're scared and you don't want that. So what happens is people who are afraid of them call local governments. Then they send out people to kill them all. And then in 3 months, you have a ton of puppies. And what happens is these dogs are territorial. So you kill some and then others move in. So it just doesn't work. So it's about reaching out to the people to see about solving their own problem. Look, honestly, how many rupees to the dollar now? 90 rupees to the dollar, some crazy amount.
Yeah.
The US dollar goes so far. I'm telling you, $20 will do this for these animals. This is paying the veterinarian, proper sterile equipment, proper pre and post-operative meds, pain control. It's inexpensive and it is so impactful.
Which other countries are on your list?
So Philippines, which is a smaller project. Russia, I have not been to Russia or the Philippines. I would like to get there someday. I go to Thailand every year, and before COVID, I was going to Myanmar every year. But we've only really started doing this since 2019.
Nice.
I've done in the Caribbean. I've done work with the Parker Project, which deals with the 4 corners area of the U.S. and the Native American people. That's a great project.
Can you tell me a little bit about that one?
Yes, exactly. So people ask me also, well, why not the United States? Well, listen, the United States also has a great need, but we also have resources here.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that, hey, every dog in the U.S. is set. They're not. But the Parker Project, again, I want to be there at the 11th hour. I want to be there where the animals, don't have a voice. So the Native American people in the United States are highly marginalized people. And they were the hardest hit by COVID. Mm-hmm. And if you go out to the Navajo reservation or Zuni or any of these areas, 4 corners is Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Right.
Poor people. Some people living without electricity, without plumbing. So these animals are running free. Parvo is rampant. Rabies is around. But they're the most beautiful animals and the most beautiful people. Mm-hmm. And so the Parker Project was started by a veterinary nurse, a friend of mine, Alex Allison. She's also gotten some support from Petco or PetSmart has, but it started out as a van. And it's an offshoot of Elephant Nature Park. So the person who helped to fund Elephant Nature Park met her at Elephant Nature Park. I met her, encouraged her to go to Elephant Nature Park. And anyway, so he said, well, let's open a shelter there. And she said, no, we need a van to provide spay, neuter, and general health care.
Are you ready to find your dream home in the heart of Boston suburbs? Look no further than Leah Hart, the #1 agent in Wayland, Massachusetts, and your trusted real estate expert. Leah is your ultimate guide to the Wayland, Weston, Sudbury real estate market. Born and raised in the Boston suburbs, Leah's background in business and financial services gives her a unique edge in the industry. As a proud member of the flagship Coldwell Banker Weston office, Leah specializes in single-family homes and condominium sales. But what truly sets Leah apart? Her track record speaks for itself, consistently helping clients sell their homes for more money and in fewer days on the market. But it's not just about the numbers. Leah's deep knowledge of the local market, tailored marketing plans, expert home preparation, and commitment to unparalleled make her the go-to choice for buyers and sellers alike. Whether you are a seasoned seller or a first-time buyer, Leah has a program designed just for you. Her step-by-step process, backed by a dedicated team of resources, ensures a seamless experience from start to finish. Leah isn't just a real estate expert, she's an active member of the community. From children's organizations to public school foundations, town clubs, and library trusteeships, Leah's commitment to her community shines through in everything she does. And when you work with Leah, you're not just hiring an agent, you're tapping into an exclusive network connecting the most experienced and top producing agents in the region. Ready to make your move? Schedule a private consultation with Leah today and let her expertise guide you home. Leah Hart, your trusted partner in Boston suburb real estate. What are the struggles now you're facing with expanding internationally or focusing internationally? What are these struggles?
So it's interesting because I think if I lived in Myanmar or lived in the Philippines or lived in Russia or lived in Thailand or India, it would be easier. In the United States, it's hard because it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Right? But all of the larger organizations, they are focusing on the U.S. or they do have some information about the U.S. or about Canada or, areas that we know about that are near us. But a lot of these organizations are focusing on the meat trade, which happens in Asia, or, the issue with Ukraine and the war. So a lot of bigger organizations are focusing on that. But they have, a lot of influence. They have a lot of money. They have the ability to advertise and to market. And so learning from them, like what can I do that would be helpful in terms of social media and working to promote our platform and using the software that we use to reach as many people as possible. I mean, even right now, the fundraising is mainly here in the U.S. We are doing one of our board members is Burmese, and she's doing some fundraising in Myanmar.
Right.
And I do have someone that I work with in Thailand who is helping. But we're not, that is an untapped resource, that there are people locally in those countries that can donate, and some of them do, but they don't have a lot of resource. So I think the first thing was just trying to get the word out and help people to understand that this, even though it's not affecting you in your backyard, it is affecting these animals, right? What's the parable of the starfish? There's the kid. There's all these starfish that have been washed up on the beach, and this kid is taking a starfish one at a time and throwing them into the ocean. And the one fisherman, this guy walks by and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean to save them." And he said, "But son, there's starfish all up and down this beach. How will you make a difference?" And he throws another one into the ocean. He said, "I just made a difference to that one." So it is about saving the individual life, and it's about teaching welfare to teaching people who don't necessarily understand what international standards of welfare mean. But it's about starting a movement, right? It's not about the foreigner going in, neutering 2,000 dogs and then leaving. It's about me guiding local people on how to do this. So trying to sell that's a bad word, but trying to sell that concept to people here. When some of them have never been and maybe never will go to these places. But when you a face of a dog or face of a cat or face of someone who loves that animal is the same everywhere. So I was surprised and touched by the success of the auction, and that tells me that people do care. So yes, I think getting the nonprofit off the ground, trying to raise money locally here, or just not even money, it's also awareness. Everyone has their hand out, giving money for this, and there's need everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Children, people, look at the situation with Israel and Gaza right now. It's a nightmare.
I was thinking about it. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Not to mention the animals. I mean, I'm not saying that. And that's the other thing people will say, what about people? Well,
That's another thing, yes.
Yeah, of course. So it's about telling the story. How good am I at telling the story about the plight of these animals, but not just the animals, the people, and this does help them. It does help them. So
Amy, I see you posting about these animals and the videos. That sometimes it breaks my heart, but sometimes it's important to get your heart broken so that you can see the truth.
Yes. And some people say, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
The fact that a rescued pup has to be taken from one country to the other because of the burns of the war, that breaks my heart.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of people are interested in rescue. And while I understand, and I've done my part in rescue, and it was a struggle because a lot of these street dogs are not great as pets. They're happy on the streets. They have their place with their people. And so how do it's how much is it? $1,500, $1,000 to bring a dog from these countries. The CDC has blocked that opportunity. But even if the CDC didn't, I can spend $1,000 and bring one dog over who was happy where he was living, and now he's in a home where he's not happy.
Yeah,
maybe.
Thank you for putting a perspective on that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we've had a lot of foster fails with some of these Asian dogs.
Glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, or I can help thousands and thousands of animals with that same money.
No, I get it.
So yeah, originally it's a very Western philosophy too. Well, we're going to give them a home, which I do think all dogs and cats do need. They would love to have a home and a bed and a place where they feel secure and happy. But it's not the same for each animal. So I've seen it on the street where, they're free, they're happy, they get to wander where they want. And as long as they don't get in trouble and they're healthy and they don't pose a threat to people and there's no human-animal conflict, everyone wins.
Yeah.
So
Amy, you have this big heart. You have this mission. You have this vision with this nonprofit, and it's already working in 4 countries. What do you see the future of this? I know that you spoke about making this into a movement. I want to know, where does Amy get all this push and motivation from? And B, I want to know, what are you looking at in the future with this?
So it's just started, and what I would love to see happen is more global interest, corporate sponsors. Every nonprofit needs money to run, right? So it's if we had endless amounts of resources, I would love to build a mobile clinic in Myanmar. I would love to bring international medical standards to the doctors that I work with in Myanmar. Thailand already has some pretty good standards, but I would love to improve that. Russia, I would love to improve that. So it would be great to have mobile clinics in these areas and be able to work in more cities. Yangon is the biggest city in Myanmar, and already people are saying, when are we going to have a project in Yangon? When are we going to have a project in Yangon to help?
So the other thing is travel expenses are a lot.
Yes. So I don't use the money from the nonprofit. It's my own. I work part-time now to fund the nonprofit and to fund my
That's
habit.
what I do. I work part-time to fund this podcast.
Right.
There's one last thing that I wanted to ask you before we leave this conversation, which I don't want to. But we spoke about compassion fatigue.
Yes,
and I want
so common.
and I want to know, what do you do? And you have so much compassion for so many different things.
This speaks also to even veterinarians and all service professionals here in the United States and everywhere. So as a veterinarian, we talk about compassion fatigue because veterinary medicine has exploded. There's so many more people needing veterinarians. As a matter of fact, I have a telemedicine appointment with someone at 4:00 today, because I also do that part-time to help raise money for the nonprofit. So compassion fatigue because, you have so many people and so many animals that need you all the time. When I wake up in the morning, because Asia has been awake, there's messages from the Philippines, messages from Russia, messages from Thailand, messages from Myanmar, questions, concerns. I have people who are, asking me all kinds of questions, clients who ask me questions. And compassion fatigue has been around, that concept has been around forever. So it's true. There are days when I feel really depleted. There are days when I say, why don't I just give money to some organization and be done with it, right? Why do I have to keep doing the hard stuff? Why can't I just, live a life of leisure, but it's just not in me because.
But you sometimes just leave everything and you are like, okay, today I don't want to think about
Yeah,
these things.
there are days when I don't have to do anything. I garden, I walk my dogs.
That's your self-care.
Yeah, so a lot of it.
Oh, the garden. I've seen the garden.
Yeah, we need to do self-care, but it's not always easy.
No.
Sometimes it just feels never ending. And so I do encourage people to take time. You have to care for the caregiver, right? So to take time to, take a breath, get off social media, go out into nature, take a walk, be with your pets, be with your family, so that you can unplug a little bit. Because
and if you're in Wayland, you get all that forest bathing. And
yes, that's right, forest bathing. We go into Western Woods. We'll probably do it today. Yeah. So I'm blessed. I'm lucky to be able to live here with my husband and family. We can do that. We can take those breaks. But it's still a lot. It's still a lot. And I see other veterinarians struggling, with that compassion fatigue, with that exhaustion. And a lot of it is about self-care, and it's not easy.
Amy, I am fangirling you in my heart, and I wish I could
so
just jump out of my chair and tell you that being this voice for the voiceless is incredibly important, especially today when we are so connected as a global village.
Mm-hmm.
Especially today when all we see around us is grief and sadness and the war bruns and then health issues and whatnot.
Exactly. I know.
I think you driving this cause, I'm wishing you all the success, everything in the world that is positive and good for your movement to
Thank you so
become
much.
big. I'm just amazed by your work. This
Thank
is
you.
incredible. And it's not, for people, they think like at this point human rights are the most violated ones, but I think people who do not see them, see these voiceless animals, they're doing another rights violation. It's like a big thing.
It's true. I mean, that's the thing. I think it's not you can't say that one is more deserving than the other. We all live here together.
And we often compare that, and that's not okay.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, because we're one species, but there's multitudes of species all over the world, and we need them.
Amy, it's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love this tradition of choosing a nonprofit every season and trying to help them. And it won't be possible without the episode sponsor, the production sponsor, and the technical sponsor. So a huge thanks to all of you and the listeners. I urge you to listen to every episode this season because it's super powerful, incredible, and impactful. Thank you so much for listening. This is your host, Yamini, and you were listening to Women of Wayland, the podcast. We'll be back with a new season soon. And till then, I want you all to keep listening, keep supporting, and do not forget to subscribe.